Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda and Barker Kia.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bayou Time Sports. I'm Stan Grove. We have been looking at all of our local football districts and our classifications, sort of to see what you might expect related to the schedules. I know a lot of people predict what their favorite high school is going to do throughout the year without even knowing who they're playing. And quite honestly, as a person who has seen it firsthand, you better know who you're playing, because some years you can have a really, really good football team, but your schedule just doesn't jive, right? You might have too many games that are on the road, or you might have the toughest schedule in school history, and it doesn't jive, and then people are wondering what happened to your football team. Well, it's not that you're any worse. It just happens to be that you're playing one heck of a schedule, but when playoff time comes, that's all that matters, right? It's not how you begin, it's how you finish, and that's what a lot of our local teams are doing. The only thing about high school football in the state of Louisiana is with the PowerPoint system, every game does matter. You have to make sure that you're doing those things to get PowerPoint so that you can get in the playoffs, and not only get in the playoffs, get in the playoffs in a pretty good situation. One of those schools that I think would attest to that is E.D. White Catholic, as last year when they got into the brackets, they were in a pretty good situation because they worked so hard during the regular season to get a higher seeding. They end up in a state championship game. One of those schools, I think, that looks at it and says, well, you know, we were in a situation, maybe a different bracket, maybe a different seeding. We're a little bit different is a team like Vanderbilt Catholic, or I can name a number of teams related to that. Assumption, who got hot at the end of last year. CCA, a team who had a terrific regular season at 10-0, but happened to play Ouachita Christian, you know, that juggernaut from the north. So that being said, you always want to do well. We have looked at a lot of our other teams in the area, but we have not taken a look at our three teams that are 2A and 1A football. Let's take a look at them now. Of course, when we think of 2A football in our local area, we think of Houma Christian. And that's who you see first there. Houma Christian this year is going to open up at Highland Baptist, a game that they traditionally win, folks. They have been good against Highland Baptist. Highland Baptist has struggled the last couple of years, so it's going to be interesting to see how Houma Christian gets out the gate. The next game is against Douglas. Douglas has a couple of athletes. They just don't have very many of them. It's a school out of the New Orleans area that on a given year, they can have some guys who can come out and play and beat you, but they haven't been very good lately. I think Houma Christian has a great opportunity to go 2-0 out the gate. And then they take on 4A Ellender. First time these two schools have ever met in football. They were supposed to play last year, but if you remember, Ellender actually had to forfeit that game. They had gotten in a little scuffle over there at Broadmoor, so it was a bad situation for Ellender. They're kind of wiping the slate clean this year. We'll see how it goes for both of those teams in that one. And then the team from, I would call it the north of the parish, but the school is actually in the center of the parish, but the playing field is in the northernmost part of the parish. The Warriors take on West St. John at West St. John. West St. John, well, traditionally at one time a really good program. I think they're getting it back just a little bit. Then you see Ascension Christian under Rohan Davey. That's in week 5. Then they start district play, and their district is crazy good, folks. West St. Mary, probably not the leader of the pack, but then the next week it's Lauraville, and they're good. And then they play Franklin, who is very talented, and then Delcom, who's a hard-nosed team. And then they finish off the year with Catholic of New Iberia, who is always very good. Then we move down to Single A. In Single A, Covenant Christian, 10-0 last year, and they're looking to actually do better than that this year by advancing a little further in the playoffs. They open up with Thomas Jefferson on a Saturday. So all of our other teams will be playing that first Friday night, which is the first Friday of September. Not CCA. CCA is going to be playing in the New Orleans area against Thomas Jefferson on a Saturday. Then they go to South Terrebonne. They really handled South Terrebonne last year. South Terrebonne obviously hoping for a little revenge. That game going to be played down in Berg. And then you see Ascension Christian, and then Hannon. That's an interesting one there. Then St. John out of Plaquemine, and then Berwick. So Berwick will be in the Berwick area, and then the Lions start their district slate against Hanson. Jeanerette, pretty good. Centerville always has good athletes, and the big game is going to be the last game of the year, and that is against Central Catholic. And finally, we take a look at Central Catholic. Central Catholic has a tough schedule, probably the toughest schedule in all of District 7 1A. They open up with White Castle, who is just a few years removed from winning it all in the Superdome in single A football. That would have been Division I non-select. Then they'll be at Catholic of New Iberia, who is really good. Those guys just won the baseball state championship. Then they take on 5A HL Bourgeois. Then they take on Bunkie. A lot of these games on Thursday night, because remember, Central Catholic has to share the field with Morgan City High School, so they have to play a lot on Thursday nights. Bunkie always has a good program. Then they'll be at Central Lafourche. So 2 5A schools on that slate for Central Catholic. Then it starts where they get into district play, Hanson, Centerville, who's always good. And their open date, instead of taking it easy, they'll be taking on Riverside Academy. Wow, good football team. And they finish it off with Jeanerette, and of course the big one against Covenant Christian Academy in Week 10. So there's a look at your 1A and 2A football schools from our local area. We wish all of the schools well, as the upcoming season is really quickly approaching, right around the corner. Get your popcorn ready. Again, the Jamboree slate starts the last weekend of August, and it really gets going the next weekend for the regular season. Got to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda and Barker Kia.